Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel-to-gavel coverage of town and school board meetings to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning, I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the Town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the Town Clerk Tax Collector for the Town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And many moments, so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the October 28th Zoning Board of Adjustments meeting. Our next meeting will be on November 18th, 2020 at 7 o'clock p.m., done virtually via Zoom like we are tonight. So the first thing I would like to address is our remote meeting right to know script. So as chair of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, due to the COVID-19 crisis and in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the Governor's Emergency Order. However, in accordance with the Emergency Order, this is to confirm that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. And by that, we are utilizing the Zoom platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the Zoom platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing either of the following phone numbers, 1-312-626-6799 or 1-929-205-6099. And using the meeting ID 980-6463-4303. And the meeting is also available on Merrimack TV channel 20 on Comcast or through the Merrimack TV Facebook Live page, which is facebook.com/Merrimack TV. Also, that number will be provided at the bottom of the screen when we get ready to open up the public portion of any of our petitions. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing this meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using Zoom, and instructions are provided in the meeting agenda posted on the Town of Merrimack's website at merrimacknh.gov/zoning-board. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. So if anybody's having a problem with accessing, please email CWOLFE@merrimacknh.gov. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that all votes are going to be taken during this meeting and they will be done via roll call. So before we start taking attendance, we each need to state whether or not there's anyone in the room with us. And before we do this, what I would like to do is to ask Ben to step in for Lynn tonight and to have Drew step in for Kathy tonight. So I will go first. I am Rich Conescu. I am the chair of the board. There is nobody in the room with me. Ben?
I am alone, nobody in the room with me.
Okay. And Rodney?
Rod Buckley, full member, and I'm in the room alone.
Okay, and Patrick?
Patrick Dwyer, and I am in the room alone.
All right, and Drew?
Drew Duffy, and there is no one in the room.
All right, excellent. So moving along, Rodney, do you want to do the preamble tonight?
Sure. Good evening to those in attendance and watching at home. For the benefit of those who have not previously attended a zoning board hearing, the procedure is as follows. The petitions will be heard in the order they appear on the agenda. However, the chair may change the order at their discretion. The board will treat all petitioners, their representatives, abutters, and other interested parties fairly and with respect. The petitioner will be asked to give an overview of the petition and read through their responses to the criteria applicable to their case, allowing for the board to ask questions after each item. State law and local ordinances establish the criteria that must be met in order for the board to grant approval to a petition, and it is the petitioner's responsibility to demonstrate that they have met each criterion. Following the presentation, the chair will open the floor for public comment, either in favor or opposed to the request. If necessary, an opportunity for rebuttal will be offered to the petitioner and public. However, discussion will not be allowed to devolve into back and forth arguments. All comments shall be directed towards the chair. Should a question be asked, the chair will pose the question to the petitioner. Afterward, the chair will close the public hearing and the board will deliberate and vote on the petition. At this time, please silence all mobile devices.
All right. So going through this, thank you, Rodney. We are now up to agenda item 3. And Casey, I did see all the notes. I will go ahead and read those in. So request for rehearing regarding case ZBA 2020-11, 2020-12, and 2020-13, in which the board granted variances under section 3.02 of the zoning ordinance to permit 3 lots following lot line adjustments without the required minimum area, frontage, and depth 2020-11 and 2020-12, and minimum area and frontage, which is 2020-13. The parcels are located at 15 and 11 Elizabeth Drive, 4 Squires Drive, respectively, in the R2 Residential District, Tax Map 3A, lots 13, 14, and 15. Now, we were notified that we are unable to listen to this request, so I will just read in that, per the advice of our legal counsel, the board cannot vote on this rehearing request as it was untimely filed under RSA 677:2. So because of this reason, the board is not able to hear or vote on this particular petition. So that brings us to item 4. Actually, before I move to item 4, Casey, is there anything else that you believe we should add to this?
Nope, that was perfect, Rich.
All right, thank you. So item number 4, RCL Realty LLC, petitioner owner, appeal of administrative decision that determined pre-existing non-conforming lots of record are required to conform to current zoning requirements upon the modification of the lot following a lot line adjustment, even though such adjustments would result in each lot becoming less non-conforming than presently constituted. The parcels are located at Elizabeth Drive, Charles Road, and Squires Drive in the R1 Residential by Soils and R2 Residential Districts, Tax Map 3A, lots 10, 13, 14, 15, 25, and 26. Case ZBA 2020-16. This item was continued from the July 29th and August 26th and September 30th meetings. This item has been withdrawn, so we will not be hearing this item tonight as well. All right, so that brings us up to number 5. Russell Goldman, petitioner owner, request for an extension regarding case 2018-30, 2018-31, and 2018-32, in which the board granted variances on December 19th, 2018, under section 2.02.76 of the zoning ordinance to permit the construction of a single-family dwelling 23 feet from a wetland, whereas 40 feet is required for 2018-30, and section 3.02.4 to permit the installation of a septic system 10 feet from the side property, whereas 20 feet is required, which is 2018-32, and granted a special exception under section 2.02.7A4 of the zoning ordinance to permit the construction of a single family dwelling within 25 feet of the wetland buffer 2018-31. Each approval is scheduled to expire on December 19th, 2020. The parcels located at 12 Cary Drive in the R1 Residential by Soils and Aquifer Conservation Districts, Tax Map 5B, Lot 176. Before we get started, Casey, was there anything in particular that we should know or go over regarding this petition?
Nope, just that you can either do one vote to decide on all three cases, or you can separate the motions when you make your decision. Just make sure that you specifically identify what each original request was in your motion when you get to that point.
So in a request for an extension, I assume, is this a normal hearing? We just don't have criteria that we go by?
Yeah, exactly. So you do need to open it up to the public, just like you would any other hearing.
Okay. All right. And so I see Russell Goldman is on. Will there be anyone else speaking with you tonight?
No.
All right. Could I just have you state your name for our records?
It's Russell Goldman.
Okay. And can you raise your right hand? And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Okay. Thank you. Please tell us about the extension.
I purchased this lot from Lorraine LaRusso in March with all these the adjustments and the variances and exceptions in place. And then within 2 weeks of purchasing a lot, we went right into the COVID. I had went and got a septic approval from the state. I have the home plans ready to go. And now I feel I'm up against it to try to build this home. And with COVID, I'm just uncomfortable doing it basically and waiting for, a vaccine or something to be in place so we can all work on a lot together. So that's really what it comes down to is it's going to be my own personal home. I'm a licensed septic installer in the state. And I just want to wait for some time. I'm not sure how long before we get a vaccine so we can all be comfortable working on a lot together. So for safety reasons, really is what it comes down to.
Okay. And that makes a lot of sense. I guess with that, does anyone on the board have any questions regarding the extension of these 3 items from 2018?
So was this was the lot that had all the drainage and all the concerns, right? And the lady actually had this really cool plan that was like environmentally safe plan to build a house there. Is this the one we're talking about? I didn't even know obviously she sold the property. I had no idea, but is this the same one? Does anyone remember that?
I'll be honest, I don't.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I was just curious. I was curious because I was looking at the plot plan. I was like, I swear we've seen this drive before.
I think she came before us and we said no the first time. And then she came back and we approved her the second time.
Okay. So she's the one that, so Russell, you're referring to, if you don't mind me asking, Mr. Chair,
Nope.
you're referring to the plans that were approved so that she could build the home because she was all about like drainage and how she was going to position the home. That's what you're referring to, Mr. Goldman?
So I'm not sure of the history of the lot. I just happened to purchase it with all these exemptions and zoning, everything that was in place. And then I saw that I had to get this completed by 2000, within 2 years from her permits, which I had every intention of doing. So everything is in place. There's a specific location on the lot that I have to build it. The septic plan is approved by the state. There's a special septic system that I have to put in to, eliminate most of the waste before it goes back in. So I have all that signed and done because that was part of the state approval process. And then COVID hit. So, I don't know. I used to live in Merrimack on Severns Ridge Road for a long time. Mm-hmm. I know Merrimack, but I just don't know the specific history of this lot.
Okay. All right. So you're basically, it's basically what we had approved in the past. That's what I kind of wanted to get an idea on. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Sure.
All right. So are there any other questions regarding this petition?
I just have a general question probably for Casey. Once we approve it, don't we pass that on to the zoning board for their approval?
The planning board?
The planning board? I'm confused why they need to come back to us if we've already approved it and it's moved on to the planning board.
So this project does not need to go to the planning board. The reason why it's back here before you guys at the zoning board is that their 2-year approval is running out in December. Once that 2 years is up, then their approvals no longer apply.
Okay.
All right. So before I address the public, it's Casey, does anyone on the call remember? Is it *9 to raise your hand in Zoom? Does anyone remember? Casey, do you remember? It is *9? Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to, I realized I didn't say that earlier on and I didn't see that in the writing, so. All right, excellent. So I guess with that being said, I would like to open this to the public. So if there's anybody that's looking to speak in favor of the petition, now would be the time to hit *9 so that I am aware that you're looking to speak in favor of this petition. So if you see a number at the bottom of your screen, please dial that. And again, we're looking for people who are looking to speak in favor of this petition to dial *9. So I see one caller looking to speak in favor. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute, and it's the phone number ending in 321. I'm trying to get this to unmute. There we go. And may I just have you, so the caller with the last 3 digits, 321, may I just have you state your name and where you reside for our records?
Sure. It's Julie Feltham, and I do apologize. I'm at 8 and 10 Carey, and I hit it too soon. I have questions in the opposing, so I hit my *9 too soon. I apologize.
That's okay. While I have you on the line, I just simply need to swear you in. So do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth tonight?
I do.
Okay. You are free to state whatever you're looking to state or ask questions, but the questions have to be directed to the board explicitly.
Okay.
So please feel free.
So my question, in the December 19th, 2018 minutes, that's when Ms. LaRusso initially presented and it was accepted. She had Tom Carr, who was a certified wetland scientist, and I'm reading right from the minutes. And he had all these mitigations in place that they talked about, that the driveway would be on a wedge system of gates between blocks where water could and would run into the ground, that the house would be on a concrete slab on a granite foundation, so that unlike other homes in the area, a sump pump would not be necessary. And then he said this is something that, is a model scenario for drainage systems. And then he went on to talk about all this vegetation, specific vegetation that they would be planting and landscaping with to absorb water, to help mitigate the water issues. And I guess my first question is, would all of those mitigations stay in effect with this new owner? When Ms. LaRusso was here, she also said this was to build her own dream home. This was going to be her retirement home. And then it went on the market pretty quick after she got the variance. So I just want to make sure that the new owner, since that was presented at that December 19th, 2018 meeting, which was ultimately approved, all of those mitigations will be in effect, and the new owner will need to comply with those mitigations presented in the December 19, 2018 minutes or meeting that are reflected in the minutes.
Okay. I think that is that's a fair question. So what I'll go ahead and do is address Mr. Goldman. Are you aware of what this particular abutter is referring to, and are you planning on following suit with what was mentioned at that hearing?
I'm not aware of some of these items. They don't seem unreasonable. I have the septic plan, and I'm looking to see, what was approved. So what was approved would be in writing that I'd have to follow by the state, right? And whatever y'all approved. So if that's part of it, then I have no problem abiding by what was already approved.
I think that you'd have to check with community development on that. I think what was approved, she had come up with some pretty innovative ways. Her and her attorney had spoken with a couple of folks, and they had gotten some professional opinions on some stuff that could be done to help mitigate a lot of the drainage that in the water overflow from that lot, during rainy weather. I don't know if that was, we approved the variances because they were going to do all of these measures, but we don't necessarily approve how somebody builds a driveway. We can approve where a driveway goes. We don't necessarily approve what the driveway is composed of and made of. So you would have to check with community development if she had provided those specific things that she was going to do. If she provided it to community development, they'll have it. But as far as like the vegetation, you're right. I do remember they talked about planting certain vegetation that would soak up more water and would help reduce the overflow, because there's an issue with water coming off this property. But again, community development would have that if they have it at all. We don't approve what vegetation somebody plants. We just approve that they can put the house in a certain place and within certain setbacks. So Mr. Goldman, you'd have to check with community development on all the specifics as far as what she was going to do to for the house, because there is a draining issue with this property.
Sure, and again, if that was already approved and accepted, and I'll abide by what was already approved.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goldman. So to the caller, does this help answer your question?
It does, in a way. I don't think there's anything that the new owner that can hold him to these mitigations. I don't think that there's, other than the other owner was denied the first time and the second time came back to this board with those mitigations in plan. And as I think the gentleman just said, I don't think there's anything to hold him to it. So I would request that they deny the extension until he can come forth to this board with his full plan with mitigations. It is an extremely wet lot. Those of us who live around it suffer from, flooding in our backyards. And I'm not sure if many of our neighbors are on. I know they've been very vocal in the other meetings, but we're concerned with the water push off into our properties. I did have another question. I believe this lot was for a 2-bedroom home. Can you concur that for me? And is it still zoned? The approval is just for a two-bedroom septic.
I think that's a fair question too. I'm assuming that is handled when the septic is planned out. So Mr. Goldman, I guess at this point in time, would you be able to validate this is a 2-bedroom home?
That's correct. That's what's approved, 2-bedroom.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep. Welcome.
All right. So because that would have to stay the same for the septic. So does that help answer your questions?
It does. And again, I just reiterate to the board, it's not really a question, just a statement that you take into consideration that the mitigation, I don't think there's any way to enforce it. So I would request denial just so we can see what the new owner's mitigation plan would be, that they would be willing to put forward and get captioned in the meeting minutes that this is their mitigation plan. I do have one other question, and that's that my husband also has questions, and I'm not sure we're on the same line. So should we hit pause? How do we do that?
If your husband also has questions, I will need him to state his name and address again for the record, and then I will swear him in.
Okay. My name is Aiden Seltz-Wilps. I reside at 8 Cary Drive.
Okay. And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, sir.
All right. What questions do you have?
Just to reiterate that this lot has been traded off for several years by several owners. It's a real estate investment. I understand that. Everybody comes forward to the board and says they're going to build their dream house. And here we are, the third owners of this property, and nothing's been built. But the problem is that this lot is a swamp. It is next to what used to be a wetland. So yes, the lot is very confined on what could appropriately be built. We recognize that it is zoned as a residential lot. We recognize the fact that not developing the property is in some regards, in the perspective of the town, detrimental. Yet at the same time, as residents of the area where our properties are constantly inundated with water and our basements flood routinely, the concept of putting another property with non-permeable surfaces like driveways and house and foundation and all that stuff right in that same spot simply pushes the water further to everyone else. And there's no recourse. There simply is no recourse for an individual whenever they develop this property. They can do whatever they want with it. We recognize that. But at the same time, we are very concerned with the possible loss of property value and possible loss of property damage to all of the surrounding homes. All of the abutters in the past, all of the abutters of this property have spoke out in opposition to this. It's not that we, particularly oppose an individual doing anything in particular with it. It's just that we have concerns that this property was zoned as a residential lot, that times have changed, and this spot is now more of a wetland than anyone is willing to recognize. And unfortunately, we can't have this particular lot reassessed by the Army Corps of Engineers or anything like that to determine whether or not it would now qualify as a wetland. But unfortunately, the reality of the fact, whether it looks on paper like a buildable lot or not, is it's a swamp. And 9 months out of the year, you're probably up to your knees in mud in that particular property. And we have serious concerns of, again, putting another development on it. It portrays itself very differently with real estate agents, I'm sure. I'm sure none of this was very well disclosed. But I need to just express our concerns. And again, I will concur with my wife, Ms. Felton, that we would like to ensure that if we cannot get the mitigation, or if the mitigation plan that was previously approved is not able to be upheld or extended into the new extension of this variance, then a new plan be required and be required to be reviewed for acceptability. That is all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So with that being said, I think that as Patrick had mentioned earlier, really the only thing that we can enforce as a board is that what we agreed upon as a board remains intact, which is what would be defined at the community development office. There's no further stipulation that we as a board could put on extending this, other than we're only extending the variances in kind. So the way we approved them 2 years ago when we did this last, we would be ensuring that those same variances are intact. The level of detail, because now that I'm starting to remember, I do remember Ms. LaRusso's testimony. I do not recall how much of what she had mentioned was actually documented with the community development office, but I do recall what we approved. So and I think it makes a lot of sense to want to make sure that we're doing things the same way. So I guess my question then is to Casey. do you have any information as it pertains to these three variances in terms of what was provided that Mrs. LaRusso was intending to do on this property?
So unfortunately, I don't have those decision letters with me from 2018, and I do not have access to those 2018 minutes with me. But I do want to remind the board that the purpose of tonight's request is not to reconsider a decision that was already made 2 years ago. The purpose tonight is to decide if it's reasonable to extend approvals that were already made. So that's the distinction here tonight. The ZBA already made a decision on these approvals that can't get reversed. It's just whether or not it's reasonable to extend these approvals.
Oh, absolutely understood. I was just curious, as per the statements that were made, if that information was documented.
It's certainly documented. I just do, with me in the file, I don't have those decision letters. If you're wondering what kind of conditions were attached to those decisions at that time, it's public information. I just don't have access to that right now.
So Casey, you're also asking us to make, to extend existing, I understand what you're saying. All we're doing is we're looking at extending existing variances that have been already approved by the board. So you're absolutely right. We're not in the place to put conditions on them. However, those variances were made based upon we approved those variances based upon what a previous owner had told us they were going to do with the lot. Now that the lot has changed hands, and I'm sure the previous owner probably wouldn't have issues with it. Now now you're asking us to extend the same for a new owner.
So approvals that the ZBA grants always goes with the land and not the owner. So the owner should be irrelevant.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think that answers what we were looking for. Keeping the public session open, I would like to ask that anyone else that is looking to speak either for or against this petition to please dial *9 so that we know that you're looking to speak regarding the petition. All right. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and close the public portion. And so as far as the members of the board, do I hear a motion, or is there any discussion regarding the extension of these three petitions?
Just a quick question, not so much decision making, but Casey, did I hear you just say that the approval that we gave 2 years ago would carry, if Mr. Goldman sold the property, our conditions would then move on to the third owner and so on and so forth until, is that what I heard you say?
Yep, that is correct. When you are approving a special exception or a variance, you're always approving that allowance for that land or for the lot that it's on, not for the owner.
So those conditions would be brought forth to the new owner.
Exactly.
To be adhered to. Okay. Well, that was what I think I heard the first lady ask was, will Mr. Goldman in this case be required to follow the same conditions? And I think your answer is yes. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion, or do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
That we accept the request, Russell Goldman, petitioner owner, for an extension regarding case number 2018-30, 2018-31, and 2018-32, in which the board granted variances on December 19th, 2018 under section 2.02.7 of the zoning ordinance to permit the construction of a single family dwelling 23 feet from a wetland, whereas 40 feet is required, 2018-30, and section 3.02.4 to permit the installation of a septic system 10 feet from the side property line, whereas 20 feet is required, 2018-32 and granted a special exception under section 2.02.7A4 of the zoning ordinance to permit the construction of a single-family dwelling within 25 feet wetland buffer 2018-31. Each approval is scheduled to expire on December 19th, 2020. The parcel is located at 12 Cary Drive in the R1 Residential by Soils and Aquifer Conservation Districts. Tax map 5B, lot 176.
I would ask Ronnie if you can just add to that the staff recommends that the extension be another 2-year duration.
I recommend that the board extend it for 2 years to 2022.
All right, thank you.
I second.
Okay, motion made in favor by Rodney, seconded by Drew. Rodney, are you in favor?
Yes.
Drew, are you in favor?
Yes.
Ben, are you in favor?
Yes.
Patrick, are you in favor?
Abstain.
I am in favor. So this will be passed for a 2-year extension. 4-0-1, one abstention. So with that being said, Mr. Goldman, there is actually, and maybe I should ask Casey, is there still a 30-day appeal process with regarding to an extension?
I don't think so.
Okay. I didn't think there was. I thought that only applied to variances, but okay. Just wanted to make sure.
I don't believe so.
Okay. So with that being said, Mr. Goldman, this gives you an additional 2 years with the same approved variances.
Thank
So
you.
You're very welcome. Should 2 years go by, you would need to do the same thing again.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you and good luck. All right. So item 6, Eric and Jennifer Gould, petitioner owner, variance under section 2.02.1C2D of the zoning ordinance to permit the petitioner to request from the planning board a conditional use permit to allow for the installation of an ADU in an existing detached garage on a lot with less than the required 125% of the minimum lot area. The parcel is located at 12 Springfield Circle in the R1 Residential by Map and Aquifer Conservation Districts, tax map 4A lot 004-71. So it looks like this is already built, and they're simply looking to convert their garage into an ADU. Who will be speaking on this? Oh, I see you now, Eric and Jen Gould. If I could have you guys unmute yourselves and state your name for the public record.
Hi, I'm Jen Gould.
I am Eric Gould.
Okay. Will there be anyone else speaking with you tonight?
My mom's next to us.
Okay.
I'm here.
And can I have you as well state your name?
Annette Danis.
Okay. And if I could just have the three of you raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Thank you very much. If you'd like to go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you're looking for tonight, and then go through the criteria with us.
So we moved to Merrimack 3 years ago, and I'm at 12 Springfield Circle. We have a garage in our backyard, and above the garage is a unfinished area, and we want to have my mom, who's 70 years old, with a history of breast cancer, falls, all that. She needs to be more constant care under us, so we are looking to add a 1-bedroom in-law apartment up there.
Okay. And so is it already, I should probably ask, is it already configured to be an in-law apartment?
Yep. So my husband got the plan already printed out and attached to the packet. States exactly what we're looking for. My mom's car would be parked in the garage also, so it won't be an extra vehicle out in the parking in our driveway.
Okay. All right. So I guess if you could please walk us through the variance criteria and just stop at every bullet so that we can we can ask any questions we might have regarding the plan.
So like the number one, granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest.
Correct.
So I basically said there will be no harm to the public since the building's already existed. She will be parking inside the garage. There's no conflict with the basic zoning objectives of the ordinance. She'll be mostly in her ADU, and she will be able to have our assistance at all times, basically living in a safe, healthy environment.
Excellent. And does anyone on the board have any questions regarding this? All right, please move on to 2.
So there'll be no threat to the public health, safety, or general welfare of the community. The building is already here, which is heated, which is located in our backyard where no one really can see it. There's adequate light on the building outside. The use will be detrimental to the character or enjoyment of the neighborhood.
All right, any questions regarding this from the board? All right, item 3.
The proposed use is a reasonable one as it will not affect the neighborhood.
Okay. I guess my question would be, this is regarding why the variance would do substantial justice.
Correct.
So I guess I'm kind of confused by the response. I mean, I think it might do substantial justice because it's providing you the ability to care for a member of your family.
Correct.
Or something along those lines. I wasn't sure if you had any other items to add to that. I guess I was just confused by the answer provided.
So basically, my mom is 70, living on her own. She has sustained falls recently. She was found dead outside from a neighbor with a compound fracture because she fell outside. She has a history of breast cancer. I feel like she needs to move in here. And so I can be here at all times for her. So then, like, part of our plan of the ADU was if she needs, we're going to put a chairlift in the hallway to go up this stairs so she won't have to worry about the stairs either. So basically, it's just a safe environment. I can't put her into the assisted living because, as we all know, with this pandemic, 80% or higher, the people that are COVID positive are the greater than 60 years old, which is my mother, and they're all in these long-term cares. So I just feel like it's not an option for us to allow her to go to any of those places.
Okay. Thank you. I think that does do substantial justice.
Yeah, it's pretty scary with the pandemic out there, and she's very nervous about it.
Absolutely. And does anyone on the board have any questions regarding substantial justice? All right. If you want to go ahead and move on to 4.
This does not adversely affect the community. This will not bring the properties around us down since the building is already existing.
Correct. Plus, as you mentioned earlier, there will be no additional vehicles in the driveway since there is space inside the garage, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the board? All right. And if you can just read through the unnecessary hardship criteria.
There will be no changes to the exterior. The building already exists. She'll be parking inside the garage. We will be living in the main house, and my mother will be living in the ADU. She will be close to us for support and safety. We plan to put a chairlift in when it is necessary.
Okay. So I asked the board, do we feel that unnecessary hardship is met? Any questions regarding unnecessary hardship? All right. Actually, we have no questions at all. So thank you very much. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we open this up to the public?
No, I think we're good.
So when we went to I had the driveway paved out back, and the when I went to the town to pull the variance, the town line showed that the driveway was impeding on my neighbor's property. So I went over to talk to him, and he had a family at the depth. There was a bunch of cars, so I didn't knock on the door with the covert. So he had told me he's putting up a fence. He had it surveyed, and so the driveway was impeding on his property, and I cut that back. I found out on Thursday. Saturday, I cut it back. We cleaned it all up, and it's all back and loomed up. And I just want to put that out there, that I made it right. We really made a big mistake. The paving company I hired. So it's nothing to do with this, but it's a different problem. But I want you guys to know that I addressed the problem right away when I found out. Again, it's not really acquainted to this, but if people have an issue, I'm sure it upsets some people, the neighbor, unfortunately.
Okay.
And it was paved 3 years ago, and we had no idea until a couple weeks ago when we went to the town hall, and that's when we actually saw it on the computer. And then that's when we attempted to try to go to his house, but because of the cars, we didn't interrupt them. And then he talked to my husband, and then it was done in 3 days. So we did we fixed the problem within 3 days. But we had no idea.
I mean, it makes perfect sense, and thank you for doing that. Mm-hmm. So before I open the public, any final questions from the board?
Is Casey going to add her piece to this?
Casey, do you have anything you want to add?
No, not particularly. What were you looking for, Ben?
Well, we received an email today about a butters statement.
Oh, I would read that in. So I actually will read that in when we open the public portion, since it is from the public.
Okay.
No worries, but that's a good point. So in that case, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and open the public portion. So what I will ask anyone that's looking to speak either in favor or against to do is to dial the number at the bottom of the screen. And when I call for people looking to speak in favor, at that point in time, anyone who's looking to speak in favor would want to dial *9. Afterwards, I'll ask if anyone is looking to speak against this petition. Anyone that's looking to speak against at that point in time would dial *9. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually read in an email that was provided to us from the Community Development Office. And this is from a Ronald R. Fisher of 14 Springfield Circle. So let me just go ahead. So before I get started, I'm guessing this is the neighbor. Is this the neighbor that you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and read in their letter. And it just states, to whom it may concern, I'm the owner of the property at 14 Springfield Circle, which is adjacent on the north side of 12 Springfield Circle. The property owners requesting the variance already operate a construction business, which I believe already pushes the zoning ordinance beyond the limit. Since purchasing the property in 2017, the backyard has been continually developed with tree removal for a very, very large 3-bay garage. It is facing my backyard, which is now the front yard of the second house in his backyard called a garage. With a second story already included during the construction, my backyard now has no privacy from the garage business compound. Along with the business, there are a lot of other personal recreational vehicles and their trailers to move them around with. This adds to the feeling of being in an industrial park. The variance letter I received from the town doesn't do justice to the size of the garage structure, about 3/4 the size of the main house. I feel the garage structure and compound around it is more than what is expected in the single-family residential area. This would alter the essential character of the neighborhood. A person who purchases land with knowledge, actual or constructive, of the zoning restrictions, which are in effect at the time of such purchase, is said to have created whatever hardship the restrictions entail. Merrimack has a comprehensive plan outlining the future growth and development of the community and a zoning ordinance to implement that plan. The people have concluded that the restrictions are necessary for the public benefit and the ordinance should be observed. Variances should not be easily or lightly granted, and a variance should be the exception, not the rule. If a variance is to be granted, I believe before doing so, the zoning board should visit the site in person to see the area that can't be understood by aerial maps alone. My personal request is to deny the variance. I'm going to go ahead and start out by saying that a lot of the things that are brought up in this are not particularly relevant to looking at a variance pertaining to an ADU inside of a pre-existing building. So I would say I'll allow you guys to address this. However, I mean, I think all of us on the board could agree that the majority of this is not relevant to what we're looking at tonight. So it's up to you if you want to address it. If not, I'll go ahead and continue with the public portion. It's up to you. I'm sorry, I'm referring to Jen and Eric. I apologize.
Sorry.
Yeah, so,
you guys can't see that I'm looking at you because I'm in a Zoom meeting. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't really know what to say to the gentleman. I run a small construction company. I'm a one-man band. I have 2 trailers. I snowmobile and we have a boat. So sorry that we have, I came in and the lot was full of pine trees that were 200 feet tall that were dead, half dead, and I took them down. I apologize, but I don't think I did anything wrong. I worked 3 houses down. I was in their house looking out their back window, and I can see in 4 people's backyards from their back window. So I don't see what the difference is. He just hasn't been into the other houses. Yeah, the garage is in the backyard, but when you stand in somebody else's house and look out back, I could see down into the neighbor's pool as well. So I don't know if it's really relevant. I'm sorry.
Yes, I would say that because we're talking about repurposing an already existing structure, I would say, like I said, the majority of this is not relevant to the case that we're looking at tonight. Are there any other comments from the board? I know, Patrick, you look like you wanted to say something.
No, I'll wait till the public's closed.
Okay.
Yeah, Rich, I just wanted to make a comment that if anyone has any complaints of any kind, that would actually be a service request submitted to the Community Development Department. And as you said, it's irrelevant to the case that's before you tonight.
Absolutely. So continuing with the public portion being open, if there's anyone that's looking to speak in favor of this case, please press *9 now. Oh, it looks like there's other comments regarding this. So before I continue, let me... All right, I guess I'm just kind of confused with what I received here. Casey, were there any other things I need to read in?
Any other public comments? Is that what you mean?
Regarding this property, yes.
Not that I'm aware of. I believe that was the only one.
All right, thank you.
There was a few for the next case, if that's what you're thinking of.
All right. I just wanted to make sure because I had a weird email, but I wanted to just verify. All right. So if there is anyone that's looking to speak against this petition, now would be the time to dial *9 on your phone to indicate that you're looking to speak against this petition. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public portion of this petition for the board to deliberate. Does anyone have a motion or discussion regarding this petition?
So I agree with what you were saying earlier, Rich. The letter is not relevant to an ADU, and I do appreciate the Gould's sorry, your comments about taking care of that driveway and being able to do that quickly. So with that being said, I'd like to put a motion forward to approve Eric and Jennifer Gould, petitioner owner variance under section 2.02.1.c.2.d of the zoning board ordinance to permit the petitioner to request from the planning board a conditional use permit to allow for the installation of an ADU in an existing detached garage on a lot with less than the required 125% minimum lot area. The parcel is located at 12 Springfield Circle in the R1 Residential by Map and Aquifer Conservation District's tax map 4A lot 004-71. Should this be approved, the petitioner shall obtain a conditional use permit approval from the planning board. The proposed detached ADU, that is the recommendation from staff. So.
I'm sorry, Drew. It looked like you were talking, but I could not hear you.
Second the motion.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the motion made by Patrick, seconded by Drew. Patrick, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Drew, are you in favor? Ben, are you in favor?
Yes.
Rodney, are you in favor?
Yes.
I as well am in favor. So this passes 5-0-0. To Jen and Eric, I guess congratulations. However, keep in mind there is a 30-day window that somebody can appeal this decision. So if you proceed within the next 30 days, you do so at your own risk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Otherwise, thank you very much and good luck.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. So now that brings us to item 7, which is Strife LLC petitioner owner, special exception under section 2.02.3 C1 of the zoning ordinance to allow for a residential use in the C2 general commercial district. The parcel is located at 406 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 general commercial, aquifer conservation, and elderly housing overlay districts. Tax map 5D-4, lot 99, case 2019-41. So this petition was continued indefinitely by the board on June 2nd of this year. All right, so Matt Peterson, you are the one that will be speaking on this petition.
Good evening, Matt Peterson. One of the things that email that you probably saw, what I was going to request the board tonight is could we take number 9 first and then go to 7 and 8? Number 9 is the main one. It would give us the building. The other 2 are residential stuff, so it kind of sets up with the first one, I think number 9. But if the board doesn't want to, it's no big deal. I can do it either way.
I am okay with that. Any concerns by the board if I move 9 ahead?
Nope, that would make sense given that that's the main part of this.
All right.
Or a major part.
In that case, I'll go ahead and read 9 in. Strife LLC petitioner owner, variance under section 3.02, note 6 of the zoning ordinance to permit the construction of a 2,950 square foot building 22 feet from the Daniel Webster Highway right-of-way, where 50 feet is required. Parcels located at 406 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 general commercial, aquifer conservation, elderly housing overlay districts. Tax map 5D-4, lot 99, case ZBA 2020-04. This petition as well was continued indefinitely by the board on June 2nd of this year. I guess my first question to you, Mr. Peterson, will anyone else be speaking regarding these petitions tonight?
Yes, John Bisson is on with us tonight for the attorney, and also Ron Dupont is the applicant. I'm not sure if they'll be adding some stuff, but they are on with us tonight, yes.
Okay. So what I would ask from each of the 3 of you is if you please state your name. I know, Mr. Peterson, you already did so, but Mr. Bisson and Mr. Dupont, if you could state your names, and I will actually swear the 3 of you in.
Yes, my name's Ron Dupont.
Okay.
And I'm John Bisson.
Okay. And if I could just have the 3 of you raise your right hand, and you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
All right. Thank you. In that case, please tell us a little bit about this variance. I know we've heard about it before. So it's up to you if you want to just move straight into the criteria, or you have anything?
Yep, I'll give a little overview. Can I get the screen share option there?
Oh, were you not granted screen share?
I think I am, but I'm just making sure you guys are good. All right.
Oh, I see.
See that screen?
Perfect. Yes, thank you.
All right, excellent. So again, good evening, Matt Peterson with Keach Nordstrom Associates here, representing the 2 variances and 1 special exception that we're looking at. To give a little overview on this, we did come in front of you starting in January or February of this year. We had continued that hearing, and then as everybody has stated early in the night, that's when COVID hit. Ron felt that it would be better in person to have these meetings. Unfortunately, we're now 9 months away, and we don't really see in-person meetings on the horizon. So Ron has asked us to get this back on to the board to see if we can move this forward tonight. Just to give you an overview of the site, most of you have probably driven out here. This is Daniel Webster Highway. Our site is right here on the right side. It had some substantial work. My pictures are a little bit old from the beginning of the summer here. This has now been seeded and the slope is put in there and stabilized. And this is looking from the other direction down Daniel Webster Highway. The overview of the site here, our site is this location right in the front here. We have an existing house next to us here. We have another butter that's up in the back here that's been at most of the meetings. I assume will be here tonight. And then you can see the overall strip of the residential uses and commercial uses down Daniel Webster Highway.
This was the land that got clear cutted, but wasn't supposed to be clear cut, but was clear cut without the planning board's permission or something like that. Was something?
Nope. They definitely did. This was always supposed to be part of the slope. This slope right here is always the grading for the site that was there. What happened is that there were some trees with the abutter that they asked us to take down and then said they didn't want to afterwards. So that was the only thing there. But this lot was always, this grading that's right here on my lot, this is what was designed for the extension of East Chamberlain Road. So it was always shown on a grading plan to be just like it is right now that's here. One of the things that on this lot you'll notice is that we're here tonight for the building setback on the DW highway. There's a requirement in the lot line, the setback line is right here. There's a requirement for a 50-foot setback to here. And then the other building setback is 30 foot off East Chamberlain, makes its way up to this point here, and then comes back down to this point here. So Ron has asked us, what can we do with this parcel here? It's obviously right at a corner. Seems to make sense to fill in commercial development as you go down the DW highway. We did multiple concepts with them back last year in the beginning of this year. At one point, we had the building on this side because you have a little bit builder of a building area, but you get closer to the abutter here. We're really trying to balance this site with everything that's there. We have the intersection with East Chamberlain. We had a abutter at this location, and then we had the building setbacks. So we had put together this plan and modified it during the last 6 months with staff and working with the owner here to try and get something that would make sense. So we'd like to propose a commercial building at this site here, 1 to 2 stories, depending on where these discussions go tonight. A 2-story retail office adds a lot extra parking. So I've been trying to balance everything on the site and try to put something that really makes sense in the area. So a 1-floor office type use with, we'll get to later tonight, which isn't right now, but with a potential for residential on the top floor minimizes my parking. If we don't get the residential there, we still want to put an office building at this location. So this variance, why I asked to move 9 forward, this really allows something to be developed on site. And I think this type of use fits in here with an office building along in this location. You'll see that there was a taking from all this lot here was this piece right in here that had been given to the DW highway. I can't find any other lot along the road that is already given that land. If you take a look at and this is just kind of the town GIS that you have, and it was just to give an idea of the house, the locations of all the units down along DW highway. And you can see where we're proposing it with this variance lines up almost identical with the uses that are on the west side. Obviously on the east side, you have a few other buildings that are right, and I actually did this building back dating myself now, probably 20 years ago when we came in and redid this, converted it from the lumber yard to this nice building that it is sitting there now today. So you have a lot closer on this side here. So we weren't trying to do something that we didn't think was conducive to the area and made sense lining up. There is a 20-foot parking setback, which we are holding for the building that's there. So again, it seemed to make sense. I'm here tonight for this building because of my building envelope that I have. There's not a lot on this lot here. Again, it could be nothing. I get it. But I think, something on a main road in your town, you obviously try to look to bring in some tax revenue from a parcel that's sitting in a good location. As I said earlier, we tried to locate this, taking into consideration the intersection of East Chamberlain, where we'd have access coming in and out from our parking, and then leaving kind of some buffers between the abutting property. This distance here is about 108 feet. Yep, about 108 feet from this unit here to where the building would be here. I guess, as you said, most of you have kind of seen this. I'll kind of go through the criteria. I've got some other information with that I'll add as I'm going through.
Before you go through the criteria, can I ask a question?
Yep.
So, because you said something that is a little troubling. You're looking to get approval to build a building, but you don't know what is going to be in the building, because it could be residential, it could be office, it could be retail.
No,
you just want to.
I'll correct that for you.
Okay.
100% would be office on the first floor. My previous variances and special exceptions would mean whether or not I can do a second floor. So we are here tonight for this application to do this building basically as a 1-floor building or a 2-floor office if we wanted to, but this location for a use for the building.
Okay, right. So say hypothetically this all gets approved, you could then, you don't know if you're building a 1-floor or 2-floor, because I'm having a misunderstanding that.
Item 8 is the second floor, which will be the multifamily residence. What he's saying is that if we don't approve 8, he only gets the first floor. If we approve 8, he gets the second floor.
Gotcha.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, so he knows what he wants. It's a matter, we have to approve all 3 for him to get what he wants, essentially.
Okay. All right.
Well, and at the same time, why I moved 9 up is that this is still a viable building to go forward with from a standpoint to put something on the lot. So that's why I'm continuing it to move it forward. And I'm asking for this building area. And then this building area that I'm showing you right here in these setbacks could be a 1 or 2-story building. It could be a 2-story office building. It could be a 2-story, 1-floor office, 2nd-floor residential if you granted it. It could be a 2-store. I guess basically that was it, those 2 options. You really wouldn't put retail on the 2nd floor. So this footprint is what I'm asking for as a 2-story. And then it's just a matter of what the uses would be at the end of the day. If I didn't get the other 2 variances, they'd only be what's allowed in the C2 district, which is pretty typical of your buildings that you go through there. Does that clear that up or make it more confusing? Okay.
I think a nod suffices.
All right, so the first thing is the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because this applicant is seeking relief from the required front setbacks on DW Highway. The DW Highway requirement, at least how we believe, is for a 50-foot front setback, and the applicant is asking to reduce this to 20 feet from the property line. The request is necessary for this lot because it is one of the only lots along DW Highway that is given 20 feet of its property to the DW Highway right-of-way per the enclosed plan. A 20-foot setback for the proposed building would actually be in line with all the other structures on the west side of DW Highway and actually further back than the buildings on the east side of DW Highway. Because of the extra right-of-way along this parcel's frontage, the town has the ability to widen DW Highway in the future as the town grows. With that, the applicant feels this variance would not be contrary to public interest because the public interest is to be able to widen DW Highway in the future without impacts to proposed developments and that option already exists for this parcel.
Are there any questions from the board regarding this? Hold on 1 second here. I have to move the screen because I can only see a couple of the board members the way this is configured. All right. I did not hear anything, so I will go ahead and say let's move to item to the second bullet.
Number 2, the spirit of ordinance is observed because, again, based on the previous statements, that the setback reduction from 50 to 20 foot would be in line with the existing businesses along DW Highway, and that the town already has the needed right-of-way to expand DW Highway in the future. The applicant believes this request would be in the spirit of the ordinance.
Any questions from the board? All right, please continue.
Substantial justice would be done because, as I've stated above, this is one of the only lots along the west side of DW Highway that has an extra 20 feet of right-of-way along DW Highway. So by granting this variance, the board would do substantial justice for the applicant's ability to develop this parcel. I think you can see without this variance, the building area is substantially reduced.
All right, any questions?
I don't, I think that you're stating that this lot has an additional 20 feet, right? And so you're saying, which is that pink area?
Nope. Well, this is his existing property line right here, his front property line, and ours starts back here. So what I'm saying is we gave all along the frontage here already that setback. So it's kind of like double dipping if I've got to take another 20 feet off of this here, where this person's front setback is right up along in here. That's what I mean by it.
I mean, I've driven by that property a lot, and I'm trying to, and short of actually pulling in there, I've driven on, and I've actually stopped on both sides. That still looks like you'd be really close. That building's going to be really close to the road.
This building, oops, hold on a second. The setback from the edge of pavement right now would be 60 feet.
Okay, maybe it's just the map is just okay. I'll hold my question.
Can we move on to 4?
Yes, please.
The values of surrounding properties would not be diminished because the proposed construction of 3,000 square foot retail / office type building with potential units above it would only help to increase the values of surrounding properties in C2 districts, as typically commercial properties more valuable in a commercial district. We had submitted a real estate letter from CBRE that outlines, in his professional opinion, that doing something along these lines would only increase the value of surrounding properties. I'm not a real estate agent. I can just put that on the record. It was submitted, and that's in your file, and go from there.
I would disagree that the person with the house right next to you is going to say that there's not going to be substantial diminished value. I mean, you have a house.
Why wouldn't you say? I mean, he's going to sell his property as a commercial property at this point.
Well, no, you don't know what that person's going to do. But I'm just saying is that house is now, I would say it's the value on that home is probably, and I don't know either because, hey, I'm not a real estate agent, but I can't imagine that value has gone up any, that now that there's no trees and there's a huge sand lot there. That's just when you're talking about the diminished value.
I can only give you what a real estate agent would tell me, and they're listing properties for crazy numbers right now. So I'm just going by what he's put out in front. This is what's been submitted to you guys.
Fair enough.
Any other questions from the board? All right, I'll move on to unnecessary hardship.
Number 5, little enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance will result in unnecessary hardship. This goes from I. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general purpose of the ordinance provisions and the specific application of that provisions of the property. Again, the applicant believes that the relationship between the general purpose of the regulations for a 50-foot setback is to be able to have, number 1, consistency along down the street for future development and for future residents of Merrimack, New Hampshire, as well as being able to expand DW Highway when such population and traffic increases. Basically, this lot is already set up for that, and placing the building at this location compared to squeezing it into this location and putting all the parking in front, I think it's a better look and it's a better layout down the DW Highway and more consistent what is there. So this requirement of 50 feet does not seem to be in line with the general provisions of the ordinance based on the lot shape and the location of the proposed building and the parking area. Number two, the proposed use is a reasonable one. We are allowed a commercial building in the C2 district. This would make it a reasonable one in the application's opinion. Have the applicant seeking relief from the front setback along DW Highway for a reasonable use of the property. Thank you.
Are there any questions by the board on unnecessary hardship? All right. Mr. Peterson, is there anything else you'd like to add before I go ahead and open this to the public?
That'd be it for right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So at this point in time, I'll go ahead and open this up to the public. So if anyone is looking to speak in favor, please dial the number at the bottom of the screen and then hit *9 so I know that you're looking to speak in favor of this petition. All right, and if there's anyone looking to speak against the petition, please do the same. Dial the number at the bottom of the screen and hit *9 to indicate that you're looking to speak against this petition. And while that is happening, Casey, was there anything I needed to read in for this? Because I'm kind of confused by what I received. Oh, you're muted.
Thanks for the reminder. There were a few things that came in. Let me switch back to my email so I can take a look at them. So there was that letter from the realtor that Matt already showed, and then there were two other emails that came in. Let's see.
All right.
There's Rich, do you have the email that's from Jeff Kibbe in front of you that we forwarded to you?
Okay.
Because he does represent a butter. That is a public comment that probably should be read.
All right. So I don't see that anyone has dialed in, so I'll go ahead and read these in.
Can I see? I'm sorry. Can I see the letter from the real estate agent again, please? It wasn't in my packet.
It was emailed out to us, or was it just emailed out to me? No, Casey did email it out to all of us.
Yes.
So you would have received it around 4:29 p.m. Regardless,
Yeah,
sorry.
Can I comment?
You can. I was going to go ahead and read the letter and.
I'm a real estate agent. Am I allowed to comment?
Absolutely.
This guy is a commercial real estate agent, so of course it doesn't diminish the value of investment properties or commercial properties, but residential it would. And aren't there residential properties abutting this?
There is.
Well, there is. The only thing I think is tough is, and this is something that I guess is kind of up for debate, is that this property is sitting in the middle of DW Highway, which is, I mean, yeah, there's residences on DW Highway, but I mean, if you're looking for a residential property, it's probably not the best place to be looking, just because of the fact that it's mostly commercial.
Can't say that, Rich.
What's that?
I mean, people buy where they buy, you know.
Well, no, what I'm saying, you're right. I phrased that really poorly. I guess what I'm saying is that it's a good spot for commercial properties.
I just want to remind the board that this case that you're hearing right now is about the setback requirement and not about the use.
Correct. I think we're addressing the use because that's what this letter that I will now read in is addressing.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good point. Maybe that might be more relevant to the next case then.
So should I read it in for this case?
I would hold off until the next case just for clarity purposes, if it's more related to the use anyway.
And let me just add, I wasn't trying to bait and switch anything here. This is all zone C2. So when I look at the pricing and the values, I got to look at it based on what it's zoned for. The fact that somebody has a residential house in a commercial district, they're going to get a different value than that residential house in a residential district just because it's a commercial. As long as the commercial area is growing and is a positive place to be. So I understand the board's comments tonight. But I'm trying to balance both. This is what it's zoned. This is what it's going to. They will sell it commercial as 5 or 6 of my, I mean, I've been in front of you guys now all year long. People are buying these to live in them and run their businesses out of them, is what's happening to a lot of the other parcels. So again, I wasn't trying to be coy or something like that. It's a commercial zone. It's a commercial entity. I found a commercial broker that would give me a price to what it was. I'm just trying to give you guys the best information I can.
Understood.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can speak. Is it all right if I speak? This is John Bisson.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I did want to sort of piggyback on what Matt just said. The issue we're talking about really is the setback issue. And the question is whether or not if the property is allowed to be built as shown on the plan, would that create any value issues for the abutter or any other abutter in the area? So it's simply limited to the question of the proximity of the structure to Daniel Webster Highway, and not this mixed use issue that will come up in a subsequent application that you're going to hear in just a minute. So to the board members' comment about being a residential property, and it will definitely impact or have a value on residential property. Really, the question is, there will be a structure on this property. It will likely be commercial, and the proximity of the abutting property to the commercial property already exists as an issue. And so really the question is, simply because it has a reduced setback, is that going to affect the value of neighboring properties? And I don't think that there's really any evidence to suggest that that's true, except the anecdotal that you're going to hear from the owner perhaps saying that if you allow this, the value of my property is going to go down. So I think it's important to just focus on this particular application that we're on right now.
And I guess just to add to that, if there wasn't a grant of the variance, the building would be up in this location here, which, as you said, would be closer to this house. So by granting the variance, I'd be further away from the house if that's what we're concerned about with a commercial entity as well.
Right. And also on the issue of hardship, while we're zooming into this particular lot, it's a tough lot when you look at the topography. The fact that the right-of-way for DW Highway is already wider than the neighbors, there's not a lot of building area there that can be productively used without going into that existing setback. So the uniqueness of this lot, I think, further supports the need for this variance on the hardship issue.
I guess at this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and close the public portion of the meeting and encourage discussion or a motion if we have one from the board. The only thing that I would add is that and I should apologize, Drew. I wasn't meaning to go against what you said. I 100% agree with you. In cases where it's a residential area, my comment, although probably incorrect, was made because it's a commercial area. So I just didn't want you to think that I wasn't against what you were saying. I do agree with it. I just personally wouldn't build a house in a commercial area. However, I am going to ask the board to provide a motion.
Can you hear me? I know sometimes you have a hard time hearing me.
I can hear you.
Okay, I make a motion that we grant the variance under section 3.02, note 6 of the zoning ordinance to permit the construction of a 2,950 square foot building 22 feet from the Daniel Webster Highway right of way, whereas 50 feet is required. The parcel is located at 406 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 General Commercial for Conservation and Elderly Housing Overlay Districts, tax map 5D-4, lot 099, case number ZBA 2020-04. Do you want this petition was continued indefinitely by the board on June 2nd, 2020. Should the board approve the variance criteria have been met, staff recommends that any approval be conditioned upon the following. The petitioner shall obtain site plan approval from the planning board for the construction of the proposed structure on the property.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Drew, seconded by Rodney. Drew, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Rodney, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Ben, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Patrick, are you in favor of this?
Abstain.
I am in favor of this. So this will move forward 401 with Patrick abstaining. Which brings us back to item 7, which I've already read in, which is the special exception. So, Mr. Peterson, if you want to go back to that.
All right, thank you. Next up here is a special exception request to allow residential units in a commercial C2 district. As I've stated earlier tonight, the special exception would be to allow residential units within a C2 district. We are not looking for first floor units. We are only looking for second floor units. I know that in the town at 401 DW Highway in June, you guys approved 12 units throughout the whole building. We want to have a commercial entity to this here. So we believe that this makes sense in the area. Again, I've come in with 385 DW Highway with a gentleman who has bought the house and living there and now doing commercial. Across the street, you've just gone residential with that. You'll see in the abutter letter that had been submitted to you guys that, and it still happens, which is crazy 20 years later here, it still gets pretty quiet on DW Highway after 5 o'clock. I haven't heard any of the BB gun bandit for about 10, 15 years since he went up and down the strip. But a lot of people that have their businesses there do feel like that there's some security issues late at night. As was brought up by Patrick earlier, what was we thinking with the building when I was laying out what we could do for parking? As you can see on the site that's here, if I was to put the building up in here, I have limited parking in the front here for this swath to put it, and it kind of made an ugly just kind of look to just parking in front. I thought a building on the side here had more of an aesthetic look character as you drove down the road. And then because of the limited parking in here, to do a second floor office or business stuff like that, I'm very constrained on parking. I didn't want to come back with variances for parking and site plan waivers actually from site plan on that. So I talked to the owner here, Ron, and obviously this is what he does for a living, not so much the office, but he does residential. So we sat down trying to figure out what made sense in this part of town. And with the grades that are up here and the slope coming down, a second floor residential allows me actually some like patios and decks out along this here right into the slope. So from aesthetic standpoint, it really cleans up the site and makes it look nice to put only three studios too. So we're not looking 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, kids, families up and down the strip. Again, this is more of your professional. I mean, I've got 4 in my office right now here that they're still living with their parents out of college and they can't find stuff. So these are just types of units that we were looking for that. I've heard everybody's comments for the last 6 months and when we first came in January. But again, I think things have changed a little bit since this started. And we're really here to just kind of request what we think fills in this lot, fills in this site with some residential people that do a lot of different things to the area. Bring people there, bring a little security there, and then help support the commercial that is there up along DW Highway now, which would help to minimize traffic of people having to come to the site to use it for things. I'm a big walker. Me and my wife are big walkers. We walk to all our places in our town. This would allow you 3 individuals that could walk to the diner, can walk to the pharmacy, can walk. I mean, you've got beautiful trails along the river here to utilize that just don't get utilized after 5 o'clock. I'm just being honest. And in Bedford here, up here, we have those trails. Unfortunately, people are running all the time up and down there and stuff like that. So again, we're going to listen to what you guys have to say tonight. This was something that we felt fit into Merrimack, added character to the commercial area. One of the biggest things that, these units would do, you've got 3 studio units, and from the mornings from 7 to 9 in the morning, I'd be adding 0.9 trips to the road. Again, I think a lot of people have concern on traffic on this road. I would love to get people to walk. We've just built all those sidewalks. I mean, there's now access to be able to get up and down. You look in the afternoon, again, you're talking 1.0 trips from 3 units. Again, a lot different than a commercial entity, office building, something like that in the location. So again, we're not coming with 15 units. We're not coming with 30. We are talking an existing 1-floor building, putting 3 studios on the 2nd floor. It's what Ron does. It seemed to fit into the area. With that, I'll just go through the criteria and kind of go through the letters that we got and that type of stuff there. The specific site is an appropriate location for such a use or uses in terms of overall community development. The applicant is seeking a special exception to allow 3 residential studio units over a proposed commercial building within the C2 district. This area highway currently is a mix of residential and commercial uses on both sides of DW Highway. Also, the applicant understands that there is a need for all types of housing in Merrimack and that a special exception is in the regulations for exactly this type of mixed-use development in an area of town that has other uses like it. As such, the applicant believes it's an appropriate location for 2nd-floor residential units.
Any questions regarding the first item from the board?
How do you, this is Ben, Rich?
Yep.
I have a question. How does the presenter arrive at 1, or less cars entering the highway? Is that per hour, or how do you arrive at that number?
So as engineers, we have you'll notice down at the bottom of here, this is a trip generation manual. It's 10th edition. We've got all the editions in the office here. And every couple of years, they come out with a new edition that'll go through and they study all the different locations and they come up with average rates of what this is going to generate. So I'd have no problem having staff, if you want to have Don verify this, that's not a problem whatsoever as part of this. But we take this average rate right here of 0.36, and if you had 10 units, you'd multiply it by 10, you get 3.6 units. If you have 3, you multiply it by 3. And this is just standard traffic memos that we use. And again, I got no problem having staff verify it if that had to be a condition on this.
Well, my only comment is that DW Highway is already overloaded in the rush hour going south in the morning and north in the evening. So you're taking and putting more cars where people have to get to and fro in those peak periods. I don't know how often you've been on DW in the rush hour, but if you're in the pattern of traffic, it's not fun. That's my observation. That's all I'm saying.
Can I just address that? So remember, this is a commercial use on the 1st floor, and so the commercial use is likely to have the traffic during rush hour, and the residential use, which is what we're talking about here, is unlikely to have additional traffic during rush hour. It's usually when people are coming home at the end of the day. So there, you're going to have business, you have commercial application here. So the residential traffic count that was just provided by Matt, it is very modest. And I would suspect it pales in comparison with the 12 units that were just approved right up the street, across the street. So presumably if there was an overburdened traffic situation that was adequately addressed to your satisfaction when the 12 units across the street were approved.
Yeah, but those 12 units aren't like right near an intersection or of East Chamberlain coming down that already have people trying to turn right and turn left there. I understand what you're saying, but
right, but
you also look at the location.
It's very close. And certainly we're talking about 3 units as opposed to 12.
Here's the unit you're talking about across the street, just to give you reference. Here's the driveway across the street from the apartment that's there. So the driveway you're talking about, the 12, is right here.
So
this is 401 DW Highway.
Matt, do you know how far that is?
You're right.
Yeah, I can tell you. It's
right, and we already have traffic coming on there, so you're looking to add to that traffic.
Well, right, but I guess my only point is what I understand is 12 units were approved within a very recent, short period of time from today.
Correct, but yours wasn't approved at that time. This was already approved. You're absolutely right. We approve what is right in front of us at the moment. That was approved because yours wasn't there.
Well, of course, I understand, and I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just saying that we're talking about 3 studios, and right across the street recently, 12 units. And what I understood was it's sort of like transient housing, which probably generates more traffic. So again, we're here on a special exception and not a variance, and it is a commercial site. So if it was fully developed as a commercial site, I would anticipate that your traffic counts would be higher. That's all. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
Right, and you're talking about 3 apartments that are on the second floor, but you're also talking about commercial that's on the first floor. So you're actually adding that traffic in as well. I don't want to go tit for tat on traffic.
Let's not go there because they got a 90,000 square foot self-storage that comes out right here.
Yeah, no, right, and so, but all of that self-storage in those 12 apartments, those are already approved. Those are approved, and your building wasn't there. Your traffic wasn't there when that was approved. Now, if we're taking into consideration those, you want it because you want to keep bringing that up, the 12 apartments of the self-storage. If you want to keep bringing up that traffic, now we're going to have to take that. We have to take that into consideration when we're considering adding your traffic on top of it. Now, the commercials part already got approved. Now you're putting the residential. You're right, an extra 3 cars. I don't really think it's going to make a difference considering the amount of commercial traffic you just added to the area with that building. So I just don't, I see where this is going. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but you guys have already added traffic by just the commercial building. But I do understand what Ben was saying. I don't think that the additional 3 cars makes a difference at this point. But let's just go on to the next one.
Well, doesn't this get evaluated by the planning board anyway? I only ask because there is a petitioner shall obtain site plan approval from the planning board. And I'm not very familiar with the planning board, but Casey, aren't they going to take a look at this?
Yes, this absolutely has to go before the planning board, and those types of topics would be discussed.
Okay. Yeah, because although I think it's a fair point to bring up, I think that this is going to get asked at the planning board as well.
And just so the board members understand, you guys have made comments about approvals and that. You're absolutely right, but they haven't got planning board approval yet. So there's no 12 units approved over there. They only have a variance, and depending on how fast we move. I mean, I don't want to go down that route, but you're right. It takes a process and it goes to the planning board next and stuff like that. They can't build a 12 without going to planning board. I couldn't build a 3 without going to planning board, both in the same spot. Number 2.
Yep, please.
The use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Based on this applicant's request to build 3 second-floor residential student units at this location, which is surrounded by multiple mixed-use developments and multiple types of uses, the applicant believes this use would not adversely affect the neighborhood and is actually very similar to the other previous approved parcels and buildings in the area. With that too, we obviously have the CBRE letter that talks about the values, so that would tie to the adverse effect in the neighborhood. And then there's also a butter letter that got submitted that was from 407, I believe he is, 407 DW Highway, and he outlines and explains, and this is something that probably this was submitted every board member. We've just gone through this a couple times and stuff like that, but this was all submitted back at our March hearing or so for you guys there. But he just brings up the comments that I had stated beforehand about having some security and some other residents in the area. He'd be in support of it.
All right, any questions regarding item 2? All right, item 3.
Three, there'll be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicle or pedestrians. As stated above, this request will allow the applicant to construct 3 second-floor studio units instead of retail or office on the proposed site with the required parking and pedestrian access points. As stated previous in our presentation, 3 studio units would create a need for less parking and less traffic movements, i.e. from my traffic memo that's there, we're talking 3 compared to, as you said earlier, just to give you an idea of what commercial does. Commercial is based on the square footage of the building. So it generates about 5.76. So you're almost talking 4 times what a residence would. So we believe that the residence on the second floor does not create a serious hazard or for vehicles or pedestrians based on that.
All right, any questions from the board? All right, on to the last.
4, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use or uses. The proposed use will have the appropriate facilities to service 3 residential units via site utilities, parking lot layout, and town services.
All right.
That's it from me. Any questions or comments?
Any questions regarding the special exception from the board? The only thing that I would mention to the board before I go ahead and open this to the public is this is a special exception case, not a variance. So it is, as long as the 4 bullets are accurate and proven, then it is technically an acceptable use, which will bring us to number 8, which is the actual variance regarding the density, where we determine if this is permissible. But I'll go ahead and open this to the public now. So if there's anyone that's looking to speak either in favor or against this petition, either or, please dial the number at the bottom of the screen. And those that are looking to speak in favor, please dial *9. I guess in the interest of time, anyone that's looking to speak in favor or against, dial *9 if you're dialing in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public portion of the meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve Strife LLC petitioner owner special exception under 2.02.3C1 of the zoning ordinance to allow for residential use in the C2 General Commercial District. The parcel is located at 406 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 General Commercial Aquifer Conservation and Elderly Housing Overlay Districts, tax map 5D-4, lot 099, case number 2019-14. 41. This petition was continued indefinitely by the board on June 2nd, 2020. With board, upon approval, the board asked the petitioner to obtain the variance in case number 2020-03, and the petitioner shall obtain a site plan approval from the planning board for the proposed mixed-use multifamily residential commercial. That's all I got.
I second.
All right, so motion made by Patrick, seconded by Rodney. Motion, Patrick, are you in favor?
I'm in favor.
Rodney, are you in favor?
Yes.
Ben, are you in favor?
Yes.
Drew, are you in favor?
I abstain.
You abstain? I am in favor. So that's 401 with Drew abstaining. Which brings us to the last petition, which is Strife LLC variance under section 3.02 of the zoning ordinance to permit a density of 3 multifamily residential units in the C2 general commercial district, whereas 1 per 40,000 square feet is allowed. The parcel is located at 406 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 general commercial aquifer conservation elderly housing overlay districts. Tax map 5D-4, lot 99. Case ZBA 2020-3, where the petition was continued indefinitely by the board on June 2nd of this year.
All right, thank you again, Mr. Chairman. This is our second variance that we would be requesting from section 3 of lot and yard regulation, subsection 3.02, table of lot and yard requirements as well. This is one that was kind of brought to our attention during the process a little bit there. I understand that the zoning determination has been made. That's why I'm here for a variance. However, I'm not really sure that this 40,000 square foot per dwelling unit was really meant for second store type residential stuff. To me, this looks like it's for if you've got 40 acres and you want to divide it into residential lots, what you're allowed to do. So I'm not really how the density across the street, I don't want to keep bringing it up, but how the 12 there or even other ones down the road, how we're getting to that number, I'm not so sure. I think it's, what fits on site from the zoning board members' standpoint, what makes sense in the neighborhood and what's comfortable in the neighborhood. But based on this requirement of 40,000 square feet, we would be allowed 0 residential units on this site. We have 34,000 square feet of property. My arguments have been from the beginning that, like I've said throughout the night, that we are just trying to develop this site that makes sense from the town standpoint and from a development standpoint. I don't think we're overstuffing this lot with different types of uses. I think we're trying to balance what we had heard from traffic concerns way back in February from members of the board in moving this project forward. So with that stated, I think we've gone through a lot of stuff tonight. I'll get into the variance and then just kind of take comments as we go through that one there. The variance would not be contrary to the public interest because the applicant is requiring the board to allow to construct 3 residential studios on the second floor of a proposed commercial building on DW Highway. Again, the main draw of this parcel is commercial. The public's interest related to zoning ordinance per square foot is to ensure similar density and character throughout the town. With this applicant proposing units on the second floor of proposed commercial building, the applicant believes this variance would not be contrary to the public interest in that it is continuing a trend in the area of town to commercial/residential development as outlined across the street of 401 DW Highway and other parcels in this area of town. Again, I did it at 381 DW Highway just the other day as well with this board. The applicant also believes that by allowing residential uses on the second floor of a commercial building in this area of town would add a sense of security to the area and adds potential customers to the commercial entities in the area, both of which we believe are also not contrary to the public interest.
Any questions from the board? All right.
The spirit of ordinance would be observed. The applicant believes that the spirit of ordinance in this area is to ensure consistent development throughout the town, and the applicant feels a mixed-use building on this site with 3 residential studios units is in character and density with the surrounding residential and commercial uses, and as such would be in the spirit of the ordinance.
Any questions from the board? All right.
Number 3, substantial justice would be done. The applicant believes that substantial justice would be done for this parcel and that by granting this variance, you would allow the owner to develop the parcel in a manner that reduces on-site parking and extra commercial traffic to and from the site via second floor residential development compared to office space on the second floor or any other use up there.
Any questions from the board? All right.
The values of surrounding properties are not diminished because, again, this is same thing as stated last time, the proposed construction of the 3,000 square foot office type building with residential units above would not diminish the surrounding values of properties in C2 district per the submitted commercial realtor letter that we supplied to the board.
All right, any questions on this? All right, unnecessary hardship.
Number 5, literal enforcement of the provision of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship if I, no fair and substantial relation exists between the general purpose of the ordinance provisions and the specific application of that provision of the property. Due to the fact the applicant is proposing the 3 units over a proposed office building and not a standalone residential units, the applicant does not see a fair and substantial relationship between the 4,000 square foot requirement and adding 3 residential studio units instead of office or other allowed C2 uses on the second floor of the building. And as such, there is no fair and substantial relation that exists between the general purpose of the ordinance provisions and the specific application of that provision. And 2, the proposed use is reasonable. I think the applicant believes that 3 second floor studio units are a reasonable request in this area of town based on other units being approved in the town and the location of the units on the second floor, not on the first floor. Thank you.
All right, any questions about unnecessary hardship? All right, I guess, Mr. Peterson, per process, any further comments before I go ahead and open up to the public?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, if anybody's looking to speak in favor or against this petition, please dial the number at the bottom of the screen and hit *9 to indicate that you're looking to speak regarding this petition. I wish there was some way to kind of speed this process up so we're not just kind of sitting around waiting if somebody's going to dial in.
We could do like a Jeopardy clock.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and just close the public portion. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
Motion to approve Strife LLC petitioner owner variance under section 3.02. The zoning ordinance to permit a density of a 3 multifamily residential unit in the C2 general commercial district, whereas a 1 per 40,000 square feet is allowed. The parcel is located at 406 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 general commercial and aquifer conservation elderly housing overlay districts, tax map 5D-4 lot 099, case number ZBA 2020-03. This petition has been continued indefinitely by the board on June 20th, 2020. And staff recommendation, the petitioner shall obtain a site plan approval from the planning board for the proposed mixed unit multifamily, right, residential commercial.
Second.
Motion made by Patrick, seconded by Rod. Patrick, are you in favor?
Yes.
Rodney, are you in favor?
Yes.
Ben, are you in favor?
Yes.
Drew, are you in favor?
Yes.
I'm in favor. So that this passes 5-0-0. And as always, there is a 30-day window where someone can appeal this. But otherwise, congratulations.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Thanks for the explanation.
Thank you. All right. So discussion of other actions. I think we all know that tonight was the official final night for Kathy. So she's no longer on the board, which creates a vacancy across the full members. So Casey, is the process still that, actually, can you refresh my memory on what this process is for how someone like Ben or Drew, who are in the alternate position, can step up?
I believe that would be contacting the town manager's office and applying through them. And I believe it's a similar process to being on the board in the first place, changing to a new position from alternate to a full member.
Okay. So I think it kind of goes without saying, typically what happens is people start on the board as an alternate and then move into the full member. So Drew, Ben, if either one of you are interested in becoming a full member, the only difference between that and what's probably going to happen in the near future is I don't have to say you're sitting in for somebody, because given the size of the board, one or both of you will likely be in the future. I know it's been a few meetings since we've had Lynn on the board, and now with Kathy out, it's looking like when Lynn's not here, it'll need to be the five of us. So please, you know.
I can't always make it. My schedule changes, like at the drop of a hat. So.
Understood. So yeah, I would definitely encourage that. And I don't know what we really do to recruit members. Do we just put up on the website that we need?
You have to go to the transfer station and hold up a sign on Saturdays and get people to come over and talk to you. That's what you have to do. So
how many times did you do that?
They give you that special lane.
Yeah, they give you when you go over with the politicians and stuff, and you have to stand there and hold a sign and try to recruit somebody.
Hey, pictures are never happened. So, I really do wish Kathy the best of luck. It's really kind of sad that we lost her, but I do wish her the best.
Yeah, we've lost her in many areas of the town. She was involved in many things.
Yep. But yeah, and then I think they usually they'll post the opening on the Merrimack.gov site, so that there'll be an opening if people go to there and see that there's an opening.
Yeah, the vacancy will be listed on the zoning board webpage.
Do we have an extra opening with Lenny not making an appearance, or is he still sidelined as a?
I don't think he's able to make the Zoom meeting. So I think he's still technically an alternate, but he can't technologically join.
Are you talking about Lenny? I'm sorry, I might have misheard you.
Yes, Lenny. Is he still?
No,
officially part of the...
he's not a member.
What?
He left? This is news to us.
When did this happen?
Months ago. Yeah, he hasn't been on the member for a bit.
What would have been good to know?
Yeah, there's any details behind it?
Not that I recall. I can update you, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, it would be great to know. Yeah, because none of us, I don't think anybody here knew.
No, I wasn't aware. That's why I was wondering, because he hasn't been here. Was he still a member?
Yeah, nope. He's not a member. So we have a vacancy for an alternate right now, and once Kathleen formally resigns, if she has not already, there will be a full-time position vacant as well.
I think Kathleen, I spoke to her yesterday. I think she had spoken to somebody at Town Hall, and they asked her if she would officially resign at the end of tonight's meeting. So I know she has spoken to somebody, and then as she came in tonight to be asked if she could be excused.
I think she's officially resigned.
Yeah, that's the impression I got through the conversation with her yesterday.
And that was her intent for joining at the beginning of the meeting also.
Okay.
So that's it for other items. Are there any other items that anyone else would like to discuss?
What goes on with the vice chair? I know we spoke last time briefly that it's not really necessary, and I'm certainly not voluntary because I would decline if nominated.
So my understanding is this. Let's say I'm not here for whatever reason. Without a vice chair, the next person in line is whoever has been a chair in the past. So correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, but that means this defaults to you.
Yeah, I think I can remember how to run these things.
Well, I say it like that because I don't remember if that conversation happened here in one of these meetings.
A lot of times it usually goes to the senior person, and a lot of times it's that person's either been a vice chair or a chair. So historically, I don't, in my tenure on ZBA, I don't think we've ever been in a situation in which the chair and the vice chair did not make it that I can remember. But certainly if you weren't here, and I'd have no problem being able to step in for you if you weren't here, or if someone else wanted to take a shot at it, that's a full-time board member. Rod, you're more than welcome to do that as well.
Yeah, I appreciate the offer.
All right. So.
I'm a fan for that one too.
Yeah.
I think the bigger issue is if we're in a situation where we don't have Lynn and Drew's unable to make it, that brings us down to 4. Or worse, to 3 if somebody else on the board can't make it. So
we've been there before.
If that's never the case, Rod has my number, and I'm sure other people do too. But you just text me because I can Zoom on my phone. Really, I can Zoom anywhere that I am.
I've been on boards when we've been down to 3. And in fact, I can tell you exactly the 3 people that were there with me. But it's you let the abutters know. You could. As long as you have 3, you could still hold a meeting, but you have to let the butters know that they have to get approvals across the board, all 3, or it's automatically denied. So if one person says no and the other 2 say yes, it's done. And we've done boards with 4 people in which you have to get 3 people to say yes, and if 2 people say no and 2 people say yes, it's an automatic no. So we've done that before in the past, and sometimes it happens.
The only technical question I have is, one of the things that we do discuss is that if a motion fails, technically we're supposed to vote in the opposite direction, which means you'd have 2 failed motions. So
we used to have, my understanding, if a motion was going to be denied, we had to vote in the affirmative, everybody voted no, and then you do the second motion to say, we deny this motion, and then everyone votes yes, and that's how you would deny a motion. I spoke with Tim. Tim said we don't have to do that anymore. So if, like, say tonight, somebody if somebody voted down, somebody said, I say we don't declare or give a variance to whoever, if everybody votes yes to that, then my understanding is that's all we have to do. I don't know. Casey can verify that, but that was something that I asked Tim about that in one of the meetings he was at a while ago, and he said, no, we don't have to do that anymore, or we don't have to do that. So I don't know. Casey knows.
Are you talking about the situation where it's 4 members voting and it's 2 yes and 2 no, and it's a tie?
Oh,
okay. Yeah. So that motion would simply not pass. That variance would not get granted because you need 3 members to approve a variance.
So I totally misunderstood what you were asking.
Well, I guess it's either way. Let's say you have a motion and there's 5 members and 2 people vote positive and 1 person abstains and 2 vote negative. That technically fails. But does that mean that the petitioner would have to appeal it to get it reheard in any of these situations where not 3? Because I guess where I'm confused is whenever we voted against something, we had to be very specific as to why we were voting against it. Mm-hmm. So if we're voting for something and the vote fails, then do we no longer have to provide that level of detail?
No, we still have to provide the level of detail, the two people that, or whoever voted in the negative. So say, for example, you and I vote in the positive and Ben and Drew vote in the negative. And so it doesn't carry because we're the only four here. Sorry, Rod. And Drew, and so now Drew and Ben need to say why they denied it.
Okay.
That's my understanding on how that works, if it comes to that. Or if it was you, me, and Ben, and I voted yes, and you and Ben voted no, then you and Ben would have to say why you're denying the variance or whatever. At least, again, like I said, that's my understanding of it. Casey probably could find out, the proper protocol.
I would say
or
that
if she know, unless you know it, Casey, I don't know if you know.
I can look into that for you, Rich.
Yeah, please. Because and the other thing too is, I don't know when the last time we had this conversation was, but whenever we're voting against something, I think Drew and Ben are the two newest here. Whenever we're voting against something, we have to be as absolutely objective as possible as to why. So it can't be something like, oh, we didn't like it, or we think that this won't fit in there, or we think that this will cause too much traffic. It has to be criteria 4 was not met because this is what they stated. However, that is the opposite of what that criteria means. It has to be something painfully objective that only relates to only what we're looking at. It can't be related to anything outside of the 5 criteria on a variance. And I know one thing that we've talked about in the past also is special exceptions are tricky, because special exception means yes, that's allowed. Variance means no, it's not allowed. So in a special exception, if we're going to vote that down, we have to prove the onus is actually on us to prove that they didn't meet whatever criteria were in that particular special exception. Whereas in a variance, the onus is on them to prove that they did meet it. So it's much harder to shoot down a special exception than it is a variance or administrative appeal or anything else like that, I guess. So, and then on the administrative appeal or any kind of appeal, if I understand correctly, we're not even really supposed to vote in favor of any kind of appeal unless there is something materially different that is proven in documentation form. So we can't necessarily just say, oh, we're going to, so for example, let's say a petitioner comes with a petition and a abutter decides to appeal it. The abutter can appeal, but they need to provide something of material that we can actually take into consideration. They can't just say, I don't like it, so I'm appealing it. So unless I'm incorrect on that, Casey, I think the last time I talked to Tim about that there had to be something of material for us to decide.
The way I always learned it is that it was new information for the board.
Yeah. So if it's a person that just doesn't like our decision, they want to appeal it, and unless they gave us something to work with, automatic no.
Well, yeah. Right. I mean, if someone's going to appeal something we approve, it has to go to community development anyway. So they have to.
They can still file the paperwork. They can have nothing of substance and still file the paperwork, and we still have to listen to it.
Right.
That's the thing, is that community development can't say, yeah, we're not passing this on to the ZBA because there's nothing here. They still have to pass us, but we have to say, yes, there's nothing here. Although I think in cases where things like that have happened, Tim has actually, or somebody has put in only, put in something in writing to say, only consider this if you feel there is something there.
New information has come to light is the best way to. New information's come to light that wasn't available during the original hearing. Yeah.
So with that being said, any other things worth mentioning tonight?
Nope. I have nothing for you.
Cool. In that case, we have the minutes to look at.
Make a motion that we pass the minutes from September 30th at 7 p.m.
Second.
All right. Rodney, you in favor?
Yes.
Patrick, you seconded. Are you in favor?
Yes.
Drew, are you in favor?
I have to abstain because I wasn't here.
Okay. Ben, were you in favor?
Yes.
I'm in favor. So 4-0-1. Drew abstains. All right. Who wants to call it?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Drew is in favor. Rodney's in favor. Patrick, you going to be in favor?
Sure am.
Ben, you in favor?
Yes.
I'm always in favor. All right. Good night, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Is meeting closed?
Meeting's closed.
Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel to gavel coverage of town and school board meetings to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning, I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the town clerk tax collector for the town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And many moments, so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.